All right, so today we're gonna be working on the Kraton, the Arrma Kraton, what? BLX, EXB, Extreme Bashing,
Roller.
Roller, yeah. This is the 1/8 scale, clearly. So we're gonna be jumping into this, doing a step-by-step tutorial as to how to put this baby together. We're gonna be using this, the Spectrum DX5C. I'm sure people have their opinions on this. But this is what we're gonna be putting in. We got the Savox, yep. Gonna use this servo, 7.4. And then we're gonna be rocking with the Castle motor, brushless system. I'm trying to get some speed out of this, all right? So, you see, we've been looking online trying to find a tutorial on how to put this thing together, and we have found not much of anything.
Bits and pieces.
Yeah, bits and pieces. So we're gonna try to simplify this process for you, just in case anybody else is gonna be building one of these. You'll have something to work with. All right, let's go. All right, so again, simplifying the process. So these are gonna be the steps that we're gonna take. So we're gonna install the Savox, I think it's a 1270 Savox servo. We're gonna go with the 2200 kV Castle brushless system. We're gonna install the pinion gear first, and then we're gonna mount the motor, and then of course we're gonna install this ESC. All right, you got that? And then lastly, we're gonna install the receiver, DX5C Spectrum receiver. All right, let's go. All right, so we're going to be taking out these 4 screws. Yep. If you want to know, just look on DeWalt. You'll find this puppy right here. Saves you a ton of time as opposed to using your typical Allen keys or any one of those other tools.
Yeah, it's great. It has a gyro in it, so you push this button here, and you spin your wrist this way for in, this way it reverses it, screws it back out.
Just like
And the more you spin your wrist, the faster it goes.
Technology.
Also, good control. It feels, it's a hands-on
tool.
Yeah, gets you connected with this stuff.
So I see like you're tucking the
the wire under because
wire
it goes under here.
Right.
There's a little tricky thing that goes in there.
Not good.
Pretty simple. And then for mine, I just use one spacer.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of space underneath. You don't want it to touch though, so just put this underneath here. Spacer. Comes with 2 spacers. I just use the smallest one.
Yeah, don't mind the kids. I see you still have 2 spacers underneath.
It's 2 spacers. Yeah, I put a smaller one on each side.
Okay. Cool. And what's the reason why you didn't use the bigger one?
You can. You want it to be right at the good height, and for me, once I push this down, that's level right there.
Okay. Cool.
You could probably put it higher, but it works with it this way.
All right.
You want to be careful if you're using a drill, not to strip the screws. So usually I start the screw and finish it with hand tighten it.
Okay, cool. So he's going to drop those 4 screws back in there, and then tighten it with the DeWalt, that tool. We should be good to go. All right, so what we got going on here now is the server is already in place. We're gonna be removing these plates right here, these 2 screws to remove this plate. And the reason why we're removing this plate, we're gonna run the wire from the server under the plate over to the receiver. Another wire that we're gonna run under there would be that of the ESC itself. So you got this right here. We're gonna be running this wire underneath on over to the receiver. All right. While removing that plate, you also want to remove some screws underneath. Okay. Here, you see how fast that tool works, man? There's 3 screws?
4.
4.
And it's not it's not self-explanatory which 4 screws it is. You kind of have to. Anyway, but it's this one, and then not the top one. This second one down from this one, and then not this one, this one, and this last one here by the B.
All right. Let me zoom in on that. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah.
All right. So we've taken off the plate. Remember, this was right inside mounted to the car. So you want to take off this also. So depending on the motor that you purchase, you may want to take this off. Typically, these will go right in on the side of the motor. The cables will go right in there. But because of how things are, you want to show them real quick?
Yeah. So sometimes you can mount the motor like this, and then these helps organize the wires.
Yep.
But because we can be mounting it vertically like this, it doesn't make sense to run them down to the side and back into the ESC.
So why are you mounting it like this though?
Well, if you mount it like this, I don't like this right here. This is not
It's kind
protected.
of exposed.
Yeah. You slam those wires and it's hard to get that fixed. So we're gonna be mounting it like this. And it just looks better when the wires coming right over and then going into the ESC. It looks cleaner.
Okay, as opposed to it being on the side.
Yeah, it's supposed to be coming in the side and then I guess going around the side of the ESC.
Okay, so that's perfectly your preference, but you know, just explain exactly why we're doing it that way. All right, now talking about the ESC. So because you're building the BLX, I said it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
With this with the ESC, it doesn't have any screws in the bottom, so it's not going to be mounted that way. So we're going to be using double-sided tape. All right. Now the double-sided tape acts, it gives us like 2 different benefits. It not only sticks the ESC down to the freaking thing, the chassis. Sorry about that, but it also acts as an absorber of the energy. So while we're bashing with this and things are bouncing around, that little space in between, that little cushion helps to absorb some of the energy. Now, this ESC didn't come with any connectors on it, okay? So because we were running Deans, or we're gonna be running Deans on this, we had the Dean connectors installed. Now, take a look. I mean, you might have the XT60s, the Deans, you might have banana connectors or the tractor style. So figure out what kind of batteries you're gonna be running and then have that installed. We got ours installed at the RC store. So it was done perfectly, no issues, couple dollars to get that done, less than $10 I think it was. Or if you're adventurous and you want to do it yourself, you can. We're moving on to installing the motor. And before we do that, we're going to be installing the pinion gear on that first. So, boom. We're going to be taking this screw. Is it going to be that one or just the one?
Two of them.
The 2? Mm-hmm. We're going to be taking those screws out. And the reason why we're taking those screws out is to actually slide that plate out. Oh,
These, I got these from Banggood. They look so high quality, like they look like metal and look heavy. They're really not. And so they have this little Allen key here that you tighten up. And so sometimes I try to spin it because they have Loctite on here. I just try to spin it and this whole thing's shifted. So
wow.
That's not gonna let me do that. So
I mean, it's not a bad thing that you're getting stuff from China, or what is it?
Banggood.
Banggood. I mean, if you wanted to look fancy and all that stuff. But there's one thing you said. You mentioned something about Loctite is sometimes on the screws.
it's hard, like to remove them is hard. It feels like, oh, this is a small bit. I think they put Loctite on the screws, so it's a little hard to get them out.
Okay.
So you just need a little elbow grease.
You want
Try
to
not
be careful.
to strip or round those screw heads off though. This one is too big.
All right. So you're gonna be sliding that plate out once we get it on.
Yeah, slide the plate out, and then we're gonna attach we're gonna put this plate on here, and then put the pinion gear on.
So you're gonna put this plate
mounted to the motor.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You want to make sure you mount it properly so that you have the cords the way it needs to go. So when the plate comes out, it can only go back in one way.
One way. Okay.
So you want to make sure that you are mindful of the way it comes out.
Okay.
So you can put it back in, and when you take it out, you want to make sure that you have the motor turned the way you want it to.
Right.
So that when you finish and you slide it back in, it goes in the way you want it to.
Okay. Okay. So like we mentioned, we wanted the wires to be on top, so we're going to be mindful as to how it is we're going to connect those. And you slide it in after you put on the pinion gear.
I put this on the motor. I put this plate on the motor.
Yep.
Put on the pinion gear on it.
Yep.
And then slide it in and then tighten those screws back.
Okay. You got that? Hope you guys got that. All right.
Let's try this Banggood special again. Come on, come on. Nope.
Let's go. All right. So Banggood is pretty, but just not.
Well, this it. I got this battery from Banggood. They've been so I got these two batteries from Banggood. This one runs perfect. The other one I got, it doesn't let me discharge it properly. So when after every run, I like to storage charge it.
Okay.
This one storage charges no problem in half an hour, 45 minutes, depending on the voltage. The other one takes 4 hours, and the charger times out, so it doesn't even get to be fully storage charged.
Yeah.
So I contacted them, and they offered me some money back. And I told them I don't want the money back. I want a new battery
Because you know this one was working really
because this one is fine and I like this one. So maybe it's just a faulty one. I don't fault them for that. But when I run it in the car, I want to run two of the same batteries. So if I have one battery that's good and they send me back my money,
right.
I'm not gonna run this one and this one.
Yeah.
You know, I want the two same batteries.
Two same batteries.
Maybe it might be okay, but I
For you, yeah. You want.
And then this connector too is
different.
Different.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I want to get this fucking screw out.
All right, so we're gonna be working on this one, getting this out. Remember, we're just gonna be taking out these two screws, pulling this plate out, connecting it to, mounting it to the motor itself, putting on the pinion gear, sliding it in the same direction or the direction that you want the wires to run. All right. All right. So cool. So we're able to pull that out. Okay. And you keep it in the same direction, right?
Yeah. Like this.
So we're gonna be mounting that to the motor, like we mentioned before. The screws for this. You're gonna find those screws, the screws to mount that plate onto the motor. You're gonna find them in the same pouch that came with the pinion gear. All right. Now this pinion gear, you're gonna find this inside your bag that comes along with your manual and all that good stuff that comes in a box. So you're gonna find that in there. Again, the screws to mount that plate onto it, you're gonna find them inside that same bag. Check this out. This is gonna be real important. So I mentioned before that the two screws that came inside your pinion pouch are the screws that you're gonna use to mount this plate to the motor. But here's the deal. The screws that come in the pinion pouch, they are set up or aligned
with these big holes.
Yeah, with these big holes right here, which forces the motor to be on the side. And you remember earlier in the video we talked about we didn't want to use it that way because we didn't want to have the wires exposed. So you might have to find some smaller screws in order to, and luckily we had some.
In my trusty rusty multi-pack.
Yep. He had some smaller screws in here. So we're using the smaller screws to now kind of like
mount it right here to the smaller holes.
Yep. And by doing that, it forces now the wires to be in a position in which we want it to be. Yeah. So again, this is all based on how you want your wires to be positioned. We wanted ours to be at the top. Go ahead.
And because they're smaller and stuff, and you using metal to metal, we always use Loctite when you using metal to metal to make sure the screws don't back out.
Yeah, with the torque that's coming from that engine, you definitely want to use Loctite. Otherwise, again, it'll back out and then you're going to have problems and you're gonna find yourself having to work on it again. So
Yeah, one time I was doing speed runs with it when I first put mine together.
yeah,
And I had the pinion gear on there with this little grub screw, whatever you call the screw. And I saw some new RCs that come out that has a little clip that doesn't allow this to slide off, but this doesn't have it. So you can see this little flat part of the motor.
Yeah.
That is when you put on this pinion gear.
Pinion gear.
You mount that and put this little screw in there. But I was speeding down the road trying to test the speed, and this pinion gear came off. So when this pinion gear come off, there's no brakes, there's no acceleration.
oh shoot,
So I just used my foot quickly to hit it to hopefully deaden some of the speed.
Yeah.
It hurt, but at least I didn't crash. I slowed it down a little bit and then I just ran off into the grass.
So he's saying basically that he used his foot to hold brakes on this monster. If you guys have been watching some of the videos online, you've seen how crazy people have been like bashing these things.
And I had on the 18-2 pinion. So I think that was 65 miles an hour that time.
Ooh, shoot. I'm not putting my foot in front of that.
Well, hey.
Hey, talking about putting foot in front of cars, right? So this guy, I'm not putting his face on camera for a reason, but this guy, okay, we're running his, what was it, the Rustler?
Yeah.
Thank God it was a Rustler and not the Revo. Up and down the street. And he full-fledged at how many miles an hour? Probably 45?
Yeah, probably 40, 45.
40, 45 miles an hour. Ran that thing into me. I jumped. I was wearing my Crocs. I jumped. The Rustler took my Crocs off and busted a wound on my foot. All right? So if he did that with the Rustler and that's what happens, I'm not putting my foot in front
But I
of
used
it.
the bottom of my foot.
No, he used the bottom of his foot.
Yeah,
Like,
the bottom of my shoe.
like it matters.
This EXV setup ain't cheap. And to crash one of those arms, I mean, it's built for bashing.
It is.
But to hit one of these arms into a pole, ain't nothing can stand up to that.
So you prefer that you go to the hospital as opposed to priorities.
Yes, yes.
I don't think his wife
That was
wants
a
to
game
hear
plan
this.
decision, and I made the choice, and I stand by that choice.
Yeah, thankfully you can stand. All right, enough of the chitter chatter. Let's keep this rolling, like you mentioned. All right, so we have the plate on there. Right now we're just about to put on the pinion gear. You'll see it on the shaft right now. And what we're doing is we're putting it on very loosely.
This little flat side here, that's where the screw needs to go in. You can see it's a little
you
flat
can see
part
right
there.
there. I'm zooming in on it. So you're putting it on a little bit so that once we mount it, then we can line up. The gears.
The pinion gear with the spur gear.
Yeah.
Make sure I don't strip this thing. Okay, there we go.
All right, bro. Okay. You see we're sliding it in right there.
Line those up. And then so people, I guess I've been following the rule as well. To get the exact location of where this goes, they say you put it in and take a piece of paper and run it between, so that gives a good spacing between the spur gear, the pinion gear, and the spur gear.
All right, so say that again, just to make sure people know.
So to make sure that the gears are spaced properly, the rule I followed is we take a piece of paper and we run it in between these two and then push this together, and then that's gonna give you just the good enough space between this pinion gear and the spur gear.
And then from there, that's where you mount
And
it.
then that's when you tighten these two
screws
screws
on the
here to
top.
keep it in place in that position. Yeah.
Okay.
These.
So as mentioned, there's the paper in between. So we'll mount it. Once you have it kind of in place, then you can slide the paper out. Yeah?
Yeah. Once you put it in place and you have these screws almost ready to tighten, you could put it in place, make sure you can spin and the paper goes through properly, and then you can remove the paper. And then hopefully you have enough,
Just remember, man, if any of this stuff is helpful to you, go ahead and post it down in the comments below. Let people know exactly where you found the most benefit. That way we'll know that we were able to help you guys out. All right, cool. So we have the double-sided tape on the plate that we removed. You guys remember that? That plate that we pulled off from right there. All right, so we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna mount the ESC to that. You wanna jump in there real quick?
Yeah. So we mounted ESC to the double-sided tape as far back as possible because the space between this plastic piece and the servo is not that much. Actually, I've seen some people with the, I have the Mamba X on mine. Some people with the, and this is a 6S ESC. Some people with the 8S ESC said it's too big and had to shave this piece off so they can fit. So before you mount it and stuff, just make sure that your ESC fits in between this guard here and the servo. And then because this is open, this pinion gear and spur gear is open, you don't want to put any electronics that can loosely get in there.
Right.
So that's another reason why we took the plate off. This on and off switch, we can run this to the side. So that's gonna be away from the pinion gear.
Okay.
And then these two, we're gonna put this on top there and we run these underneath the plate.
All right, so you guys getting that? So we're gonna be running the wires from the ESC underneath the plate.
Yeah. And then we screw it back in. It's a little funny to get it in there, but get it in there and then run this across underneath the chassis brace. And then you take out this, we're gonna take out this receiver cover, and then it has a little slot in the side of this receiver cover here, and you just run the wires through there.
Okay, cool. So just a quick recap. So we're gonna run the wires underneath the plate, okay? You don't want them to get hooked up into the pinion gear and the spur gear. You're gonna also run the wires of the servo
Yep, underneath the plate.
underneath the same plate, and then you're gonna run it underneath this chassis brace right here, and then up into the
Receiver box.
receiver box. Boom. All right, so what we did here is we ran the wires underneath the chassis
And the drive shaft.
and the drive shaft, as we mentioned before. Just as a tip, we use one of these to kind of help pull the wire up once we got it underneath the chassis and the drive shaft, because it's pretty tight down in there. And then we're sliding it down into this little space right here, which goes into the receiver box. Okay. Cleared it.
And then this one goes there.
All right,
Goes
so
there. And then the switch comes out to the side there. Now to
hold it and then
put these little
find.
screws back in there. Hopefully you can line something.
So we're not gonna put you through this, but we're gonna be basically remounting the ESC. So the whole goal is to line it up here. And remember those 4 screws that we pulled out from the bottom?
Yeah. This one.
We're gonna try to align those up. All right, so do your best, knock that out. Should be good to go.
Mounted in there. So
Say that again.
so this is the receiver that we got with this Spectrum remote. It has ABC in it, so in the manual it says to use the double-sided sticky tape and not the hook and latch, something else that you could put on there.
Okay.
So also you want to mount this to the car before you turn the receiver and the remote on, so that you make sure that, because this has a gyro in it, so you want to make sure that it's flat, because if you have it hanging down, just, you know, like sometimes when you put stuff together, you want to make sure everything works before you stick it down.
Right.
But
They suggest that you put
yeah,
it in
you
first.
put it in first, install it first, stick it down in the position where it goes. I think it has to go like this, or it has to go like this, either 90 degrees or flat. And you mount it in, and then after you turn on the car, after this is flat.
Boom.
So this is the receiver, and so you want to make sure, because we route in the wires underneath the plate that this ESC is stuck to, you want to make sure that you have the right wire. And on the side of this receiver, it has steering, throttle, and your auxiliaries. So of course you want to put the servo, which is the first one to the bottom that we have in.
Yep.
You want to have all these bullets on here facing, well, in my mind, down means towards the receiver. So not the first one, That's for anyway. The second one is what you want to put it in. So that's in there.
Yep.
Good. And then the next one is for the ESC.
ESC. Yep.
Bullets again facing towards the thing. And the next one is auxiliary one, and that's the fan for the ESC. Push that in there too. All right. Now we're about to put a double-sided sticky tape on there and mount it in there flat, just like this. Actually, maybe we'll mount it like this. That way the antenna can come through that hole as well.
Oh yeah, the little small.
And I don't know if that's right, but maybe. Okay, there's a little screw to take this out. So we'll take this out, run this wire up through this, and then stick this down.
All right, so what we did last was we went ahead and installed the receiver, as mentioned, and then what we did was we ran the wires down into this little slot right here. Let me get my fingers out of the way. All right, now you guys might have a better way to connect the wire for the receiver, but we haven't as yet, so do you, is my point. But otherwise, we ran everything down inside a little slot. So the next thing we're going to be doing is connecting the wires from the motor into the ESC. And yeah, then I'll let you know the next step. All right, so right now we are installing the batteries.
You're testing, so you don't even need to strap them down so much, but whatever.
Yeah.
The balance cables out of the way.
As
I'm
mentioned,
gonna put these bolts in there now.
we use Dean's. I don't know what kind of connectors you have, but set that up.
So now these bullets, you're gonna put them in. Push it down after, make sure it's good. Push it down a little bit. See, that's why I mounted it up. It looks so nice and clean. Going straight into there.
Yeah, you say nice and clean now, right? And then you find somebody who has one that has it like tie strapped down, color
probably strap
coded.
down. Yeah, you could. I mean, you could strap it down and stuff, but
Yeah.
they're out of the way.
It's clear,
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So and then the battery cables go over there. All right, so that's connected there. We're gonna plug this in. Hey. Okay.
All right, so we've connected the bullets, as you mentioned, and we're giving you the straight play-by-play. So based on what it is we did,
Yes.
we are literally going to start it and see exactly how things came out. All right?
So you want to make sure your remote is on first, and it is off of the surface, because we don't. Well, yeah, we don't want when the battery turn it on. We turn it on, and it just takes off, flying off somewhere.
Yeah.
So, off the. So let's see. Moment of truth. Remote is on. Server is not connected yet. Battery is in, strapped in. Okay. All right, I think so. Orange means that it's good to go. So let's pull the trigger and hope it goes forward. Okay, that's reverse. So it's reversed.
It's reversed?
Yeah, so it's reversed. So on this remote, you can just go in. I don't know. I had to go and play with it a little bit, but there's a menu. You can go in here and just flip it, and it reverses the controls.
Okay, cool. So
But it's working.
it's working, guys. Based on everything that we've done,
So after we reverse it and make sure the wheels turn in the correct position when we pull the throttle, then we want to make sure that the steering adjustment is to 0, and then we'll put on this servo arm when it's at neutral. Make it straight here. We'll put it on and then
should be good to
check
go.
the steering.
All right, man. You got it in real time, so whatever errors we had, you got to see.
All the nervousness turns on the first
Yeah, I know it was kind of a while before it came on. But we will reverse the settings, and then go from there. All right, so we were able to make the adjustments on the controller itself so that it will reverse the trigger and how it responds. So right now we put on the, or we are in the process of putting in the silver arm. It's connected, but we're going to screw it down. Now check this out. You can see from the front, you're noticing that this wheel is kind of like off. So what we're going to be doing afterwards is adjusting it. This is something like quite similar to what we have on the Revo. So you can use this right here. By screwing this or turning this, it'll turn the wheel in. I think I'm getting tired. But yeah, and you should be good to go. All right. So based on everything that we've done, do you want to hit the? There you go. Ooh, the brakes is hard. Therein lies your Arrma Kraton. Hopefully everything helped. Again, if we helped you out with this one, please mention it down in the comments, how we did and how you did. And happy bashing.